Welcome back. All right, so rounding out today's videos on the channel, a top 10 list of sorts. So statistics are really the bread and butter for me and always have been, where I love to see the statistical swings that the NHL has had towards offense, towards defense, great goaltending, iffy goaltending, um, new coaching styles, everything. So looking at the stats from this past season, and you guys can let me know your thoughts on this as well. I don't think there's a right answer or a wrong answer to any of this because it's all just kind of guesswork, but it's kind of fun guesswork too. So, the first item on the board is that goals per team was actually down this past season, down to 3.11 from 3.18 the year before. And what's interesting is the scoring really dropped off that last quarter of the season. So, my question becomes, are we going to see a further drop in scoring this year? And I think there are certain reasons to think we could. Because a lot of teams that succeeded in the playoffs did so by playing really smart defense and keeping the other teams scoring low. And I know that sounds really simplistic, but that's basic. It is a league of copycats where you go, hey, that team only allowed a couple goals per game. They did pretty well. So we'll try to do that as well. So it is a cyclical league. We have seen where scoring goes up, scoring drops. It happens. So are we seeing the start of a downward cycle in scoring? Keep in mind, coaches like the defensive side of it, like to see those goals not in their net. And one example would be if a guy scores a goal in a game, but then he's responsible for a goal against, he may very well get benched the rest of the game. That goal scored was great, but that goal scored at the other end, if it's deemed to be your fault, you may very well get benched. Coaches are very much of the mind that strong defense, it seems like anyways, coaches value defense over the ability to create the goals. Number 2 on the list is that Matthews reached 69 goals this past season. They did everything they could to get him to 70. So will we see Austin Matthews reach 70 goals this year? If there's anybody in the NHL that could do it, it would be him, in my opinion. Although I think McDavid could if he decided to stop passing the puck as much as he has recently. I don't think that's likely, but Matthews, I think, could reach 70 goals. The problem being with him having 69 goals last season and talking about things being cyclical, I could see Matthews being in that 60 goal range. It is difficult, very, very difficult to get to 70 goals in today's NHL. It has been a very long time since anybody did it. That's part of the reason why everybody was fascinated with that towards the end of the regular season this past spring. Now, with the assist side of things, and already having mentioned McDavid, that does segue into the third point, which is Kucherov and McDavid both reaching 100 assists. And it's very rare that you see multiple 100 assist seasons in the same year. I'm thinking in the 80s it probably happened at least once, right? Maybe. And it's not like I've done a history series where I would have had all those stats written on the board or anything. I'm getting old and all that. But Kucherov and McDavid, will they reach 100 assists again? I think McDavid could. Kucherov, I don't know. We'll see. I'm not saying that as an insult to Kucherov, just McDavid makes everything look so easy. And for Kucherov, maybe he won't have the same, and again, this is just speculative, right? Maybe he won't have the same kind of chemistry with Gensel that he did with Stamkos. You don't know until they start playing like they should, but you never know. So yeah, let me know on that. Do you think we'll see another 100 assist season this year? My guess is probably not, to be honest. I think of the two, though, McDavid's probably the more likely of the two, but I still don't think it's very likely we'll see that. Sam Reinhart. Sam Reinhart had a great year, but he also had a really high shooting percentage. 24.5% shooting percentage. And the fact that it was league leading tells you this probably isn't sustainable. So either he's going to need to start taking more shots on net, or in all likelihood his goals drop off, at least somewhat, right? So with Reinhart, will he keep that same scoring level up? Will he be a 50-plus goal scorer? Do we see that shooting percentage go down and he gets more shots and gets up to that 50-goal mark? What are your thoughts on that? Like a 24.5% shooting percentage is absolutely insane. That is ridiculous. And I don't think he's going to have that total again. I'm not saying that he can't score goals, just the odds of having that many goals over that few shots, not likely. Connor Bedard in year one, 68 games, 22 goals, 39 assists, 61 points. Bedard wowed at points. He was quiet at other points, but he's playing in Chicago. So, in the case of the Chicago Blackhawks, miserable season, but it looks like they've improved, at least on paper, in the offseason. So, are we going to see Bedard's numbers go up on what should be a better Chicago team? Again, we should, right? He should be up to at least a point per game this year, I would think. He wasn't that far off of it this season, anyways. But again, then you're looking at could the potential be there for a sophomore jinx for Bedard? Sorry, I had to pause for a cough. But yeah, Bedard, it's going to be interesting to see if year two it sees him go on this trajectory or this, or maybe a little bit of a dip, because again, the sophomore jinx is the thing. Now, the Avs led the league with 304 goals. Toronto was right behind him with 303. The Hawks were last in the league with 179. Now, statistically, it's hard to stay first, right? But it's also, I think, going to be hard for the Hawks to stay last in the league with 179 goals. That is such an anemic offense. So my guess is Colorado probably not leading the league this year with goals. The Hawks probably not last this year in goals. And maybe San Jose ends up being the lowest goal scoring team this year in the NHL. Who knows? But I do think that of the two teams on the board, the more likely is I think the Avs staying first in goals scored. I do. I think the Hawks will improve enough offensively. They shouldn't be the lowest scoring team. Again, you guys can let me know your thoughts. Now, the Winnipeg Jets led the league in terms of only allowing 199 goals this past season. The Sharks allowed 331. So that's a 132 goal difference between the best defense in the league and the worst defense in the league. The Sharks aren't going to be that bad this upcoming season, but I'm wearing Sharks because they get mentioned a lot in this video. And I don't think the Jets are going to repeat as the Jennings winner, right? The Jennings, of course, going to the goaltender on the team or goaltenders on the team that has the lowest goals against average in the league. So my thought is that San Jose should improve defensively, may still end up at the bottom of the list in terms of goals against. But the Jets, I don't think end up being number one in the defensive category this year. They had such a tremendous run of games where they allowed 3 or less goals. And that really obviously helped them. It was, 35 games in a row where they allowed 3 or less goals? Absolutely insane. It's going to be really difficult to repeat that for Winnipeg. And I think that division's going to be a little bit tougher for Winnipeg this year, too. So we'll see. But my guess is that the Jets probably don't allow the least amount of goals this coming season. The Sharks may end up allowing the most again. But I think some of these ridiculous numbers we saw from bad teams probably get a little bit better this year. The Ducks, the Hawks, and the Sharks had points percentages below 400, which is bad. That is pretty bad. And the feeling that I have is the Ducks have to improve because they have to. The Ducks are just at this point the team should show improvement. If they end up below 400 again, I don't know what you do to fix it. The Hawks and the Sharks may end up staying below 400. I don't think so. And again, this is in terms of points percentage. I'd like to see a league where we don't have anybody below 400. There are some who expect Calgary to potentially be below 400 this year from the way I see people talking about the Flames. But yeah, I think the Ducks probably get out. The Hawks are going to do their best. And the Sharks, they have a way to go to get to 400 from this past season, from where they were anyways. And I don't know if the Sharks have improved enough, but I'll go ahead and say, you know what? Yeah, they finished above 400. Sure, why not? Gustav Forsling gets talked about a lot. Now, I had to put this in here too. So he led the league with a plus 56. And then I touched the board and I wrecked the W. So let's just go ahead and fix the W. Kind of wrecked the I too. But all right, we'll just forget that happened and move on. Ninja dust. Forsling led the league with a plus 56. He can do it again. He showed 2 years previous. He had a plus 41. In between, I think it was a plus 16 he had in 2022, 2023. If Forsling can get that kind of a total again for his plus minus, it will probably help him in his chase for a Norris Trophy. Florida fans were pretty outspoken on how he deserved a Norris Trophy, or at least to be a finalist for said Norris Trophy, because of that plus 56. I think if he repeats those numbers again, and if he scores a few more points, he could very well be a finalist. I don't think it hurts either that they won the Stanley Cup, because now he's on everybody's radar. Everybody's seen how good Forsling is at both ends of the ice. I think if he has another plus 50 season, even, he can drop 6 off of that plus 56 and still end up being higher on the Norris Trophy voting. But it is insane seeing those kinds of numbers. And then in the negative, which is going to be very hard to repeat, I think, 9 out of 10 plus minus players that were the worst in the NHL played for either the Sharks or the Hawks. Now, that includes Kalen Addison, who didn't play the entire season in San Jose, but man, when he got there, his plus minus, it wasn't great before he got there, but it got a lot worse. And this is why when people talk about Connor Bedard's plus minus, I don't put a lot of thought into that. Bedard's plus minus was weighed down by the fact he was on a really bad team, and the Hawks were built to be a really bad team before they got him, and they didn't do very much to improve in his rookie season. The one addition they brought in to kind of shepherd him along was Taylor Hall, and he only played 10 games this past season for Chicago. So my expectation is we won't see 9 out of 10 worst plus minus players with the Sharks or the Hawks this year. Maybe, again, the expectation is it could be the Flames that are bottoming out. But let me know your thoughts. Which of the numbers on the board do you think, nah, that's probably about right, and we're going to see that again this year? And which of the other numbers would you say no to? So again, I don't consider this to be something that has a right or wrong answer, and it's just kind of a fun thing to look at. Because again, stats are what made me a huge hockey fan. Just the amount of statistics I would see in all the yearbooks and everything else, and the yearbooks it's almost yearbook time. So I'm excited about that. I'm really happy about that. It's part of the reason I like to get my season previews done before all the yearbooks come out. I like to have all those in place and then see what the yearbooks have to say about where they expect everybody to finish. And once I've got those yearbooks in hand, we'll go over it. But at any rate, let me know your thoughts regarding these statistics. So yeah, statistics, they're kind of my favorite part about hockey, other than the hockey itself. So yeah, I know, deep thoughts, right? All right, anyways, thank you guys so much for all your support as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe in the event you've not done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.